Okay, think about this for a second. The market, just for keeping our pet skin healthy, all those itchy spots and rashes, it's already projected to hit, like USD 18.62 billion globally, just next year, 2025.
Wow. That's a huge number. It really shows how common these issues are and, well, how much people are willing to spend on your animal's comfort.
Exactly. So to really get a handle on where this is all going, we've taken a deep dive into a new industry report.
Right.
Think of this as your quick guide to the key trends, what's happening, what's driving the future of animal skin health. We're talking market sizes, growth rates, the big companies involved.
In this report, it gives a pretty wide view, looking back a bit, but mainly forecasting ahead. It really helps clarify things.
Okay, so let's get into the big picture first. This market isn't small, and it's not standing still.
Not at all.
The report forecasts it'll basically balloon to, get this, USD 39.33674 billion by 2033.
That's more than double the 2025 figure. Incredible.
Really is.
And the growth rate, the compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, that's the average yearly growth.
Yeah.
It's projected at 9.8% between 2025 and 2033. That's a very strong, consistent expansion year over year.
9.8%. Wow. And just so you know, these projections, they aren't pulled out of thin air.
Right.
The base year is 2024, and they've used historical data from 2021 onwards. So it's grounded in what's actually been happening recently.
That context is important.
Definitely. Now let's break it down by region. Where's the biggest chunk of this market right now?
So for 2025, North America is the leader, by quite a margin, actually, over 40% of the global total.
40%.
Yeah, that translates to about USD 6.8894 billion, and it's still growing at a healthy clip, 8.6% CAGR projected for the region.
Okay, over 40%. And I'm guessing the U.S. is the main driver there.
Absolutely. The U.S. market alone is estimated at USD 5.43574 billion for 2025. And growing at 8.4% CAGR. But Canada and Mexico are significant too. Canada's around USD 826 million. Mexico over USD 626 million, with KGRs of 9.4% and 9.1% respectively. So, strong growth across the board there.
Got it. So North America's number one. Who's number two? Europe.
Europe follows, yeah. They hold over 30% of the share. That's about USD 5.3998 billion estimated for 2025.
And their growth was similar to North America.
Almost identical, actually. Also projected at an 8.6% CAGR.
Interesting. Any specific countries in Europe that stand out in the report?
Well, they highlighted Germany, which is looking at about USD 1.07 billion with an 8.8% CAGR.
Okay.
And the UK is also quite large, around USD 907 million, but with a slightly higher growth rate projected at 9.4% CAGR.
So both North America and Europe are, the current powerhouses. Solid market, solid growth.
Exactly. They form the bulk of the market today.
But where's the fastest growth happening? Which region is really accelerating?
That's where Asia Pacific comes in. This is really interesting. While their current share is smaller, around 23%, that's about USD 4.47 billion in 2025, their projected growth rate is the highest by far.
How high?
A CAGR of 12.7%.
12.7. Wow. That suggests some major shifts happening in pet care over there.
It really does. It points to rapidly evolving attitudes towards pet health and spending.
And which countries are leading that charge in Asia Pacific?
China and India are the big ones. China's market is estimated at nearly USD 1.9 billion with a 12.2% CAGR.
Still huge growth.
And India, though smaller now at around USD 447 million, has an even faster projected CAGR of 14.6%.
14.6. Incredible. That really aligns with the rising middle class and increased pet ownership trends we hear about.
Precisely. It's a key indicator.
So what about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, how do they stack up?
They're smaller shares, but still showing decent growth. South America holds over 5%, about USD 708 million, with a 10.2% EGR.
10% is still pretty strong.
It is. Brazil's a big part of that, over USD 300 million itself, growing at nearly 11%.
Okay.
The Middle East is around 2%, roughly USD 745 million. Growing at 10.3%. Saudi Arabia is a key market there. And Africa holds about 1% of the global market, around USD 410 million, with a 9.5% CAGR. South Africa is the largest piece there, growing over 10%.
So growth seems to be pretty widespread, but Asia Pacific is really accelerating.
That's the main takeaway on the regional front, yes.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. What kinds of drugs are we talking about here? What's the largest category right now?
Right now, it's antibacterial drugs. That makes up the biggest slice of the market.
Makes sense. Bacterial skin infections seem pretty common.
They are, yeah, in pets, livestock, across the board. So these treatments are frequently needed.
But I think the report mentioned another category is actually growing the fastest.
That's right, antifungal drugs. They're projected to have the highest growth rate within the drug types.
Interesting. Why is that, do you think?
It's likely a mix of things, possibly an actual increase in fungal infections, but maybe also better diagnostics. Vets are getting better at identifying them.
Could be. So bacterial issues are most common now, but fungal ones are catching up, maybe?
Or at least the treatment market for them is growing fastest.
Got it. What other drug types are significant?
Well, antiparasitic drugs are obviously a big part. Things for fleas, ticks, mites that affect the skin.
Sure.
And then there's a kind of catch-all others category. That would cover things like treatments for allergies, autoimmune skin problems, things that aren't strictly bacterial or fungal.
Right, like maybe steroid creams or allergy medications.
Exactly. Things like that fall into others.
Okay, so we know the types of drugs. How are they usually given to the animals? What's the most common way?
Topicals hold the largest share right now. So, creams, ointments, medicated shampoos.
Things you put directly on the skin.
Correct. They're popular because you can target the problem area, and, they're often relatively easy for owners to use, plus potentially fewer side effects than systemic drugs.
Right, that makes sense. But wasn't there another method that's growing really quickly?
Yes, injectables. That segment is expanding rapidly,
Injections. Why the growth there?
particularly for chronic conditions like atopic dermatitis, allergic skin disease. An injection can offer faster relief and often last much longer than, say, daily pills or creams.
Ah, convenience and longer action. I can see the appeal for ongoing problems.
Definitely. It can improve the animal's quality of life and make it easier for the owner to manage the condition effectively. Better compliance.
Makes sense. And I assume pills, oral medications are still a major part of this too?
Oh, absolutely. Oral meds are still a critical piece. Convenient for many conditions, necessary for systemic treatment when topicals or injectables aren't the best fit.
Okay. Now, what about the animals themselves? Is this mostly for pets, like cats and dogs?
Predominantly, yes. Small animals make up the largest segment by animal type,
Why is that?
while higher rates of pet ownership compared to, say, livestock on farms. And perhaps pet owners are just more likely to seek veterinary care for skin issues driving demand.
And within that small animal group, did the report single out any particular pet driving growth?
It did, actually. Dogs were identified as the fastest growing category within small animals.
Or canine companions? Any reason why dogs specifically?
The report suggests it's a combination of more people owning dogs, plus a growing awareness among dog owners about skin conditions and the treatments that are available now.
So more dogs and owners who are more informed about their skin health.
It seems to be the case.
What about larger animals? Horses, cattle, things like that. Are they factored in?
They are, yes. They contribute to the market for sure. It's a smaller share compared to small animals, but there's definitely a need for dermatology drugs in agriculture and equine health too.
Okay, so let's pull back again. What's really propelling all this growth? What are the key drivers?
The report highlighted a few main things. First, as we touched on, just increasing pet ownership globally.
Right.
And tied to that, the whole pet humanization trend. We view pets as family, so we're more willing to spend on their health care, including dermatology.
Definitely see that. Feels like there are furry kids sometimes.
hmm
What else?
Second, real advancements in the treatments themselves. Veterinary dermatology isn't standing still.
Like new drugs coming out.
Exactly. The report mentioned Elanco launching Zenrelia. That's a drug called ilunocitinib for allergic dermatitis in dogs. That kind of innovation gives vets and owners better tools driving the market.
That's a great specific example. And a third driver.
Just growing awareness generally about animal health overall and the importance of preventative care. People are more proactive, taking animals to the vet sooner, noticing skin issues earlier.
So more pets, better treatments, and more awareness. Seems like a strong combination.
It really is fueling the market.
But surely it's not all smooth sailing. Are there things holding the market back or potential obstacles?
Yes, there are definitely restraining factors. One big one is cost.
Ah, these drugs can be expensive.
It really can be, and that high cost can be a major barrier, especially for people in lower income regions or even just people on tight budgets everywhere. It can limit access to treatments.
That's a really valid concern. Affordability is key. Any other hurdles?
Regulatory challenges. Getting new veterinary drugs approved is often a long, complex, and expensive process.
Right. Similar to human drugs, I imagine.
Very similar. That can slow down innovation and delay new therapies reaching the market,
Ooh.
which acts as a restraint.
Okay. Now, looking ahead, what are some of the newer trends? What's emerging in veterinary dermatology?
One really interesting trend is a growing focus on more personalized medicine and biologics.
Biologics, like in human medicine.
Exactly. Things like monoclonal antibodies, immunotherapies, treatments that are much more targeted to the specific biological pathways causing the disease. It's a shift towards more sophisticated approaches.
That sounds like a potential game changer for some conditions. Very cool. What else is trending?
There's also, kind of related to owner preference, a growing desire for topical treatments, which we said were already big and non-invasive options.
So less reliance on pills or injections if possible.
Perhaps. And alongside that, a definite rise in interest in natural and herbal dermatology products.
Ah, the natural remedies trend hitting pet care, too.
Seems so. It mirrors broader consumer trends towards natural options.
Interesting. Now, the report mentioned something about tariffs impacting the pharma industry back in April 2025. How might that affect this specific market?
Yeah, that was a bit of a curveball for the whole industry. The reintroduction of tariffs hit things like APIs, the active ingredients and drugs,
The core stuff,
right, and also packaging, manufacturing machinery. The concern is that this could increase production costs for veterinary dermatology drugs, too.
which could mean higher prices for pet owners down the line.
Potentially, yes. It adds another layer of cost pressure. It shows how, global trade policy can actually trickle down and affect the price of meds for your dog or cat.
It really does highlight those connections. Okay, so who are the big companies in this space? Who's leading the charge?
It's a competitive field, but it's dominated by several major global players. You've got names like Elanco, Seva, Vitopinol, Merck Animal Health, Zoetis, Virbac.
Recognizable names in animal health for sure.
Definitely. They're the ones investing heavily in R&D, pushing out these innovative treatments we talked about.
Has there been much M&A activity or big news recently among these players?
There have been a few noteworthy things. For instance, a private equity firm, Percheron Capital, acquired Animal Dermatology Group back in October 2024.
What does that signify?
It suggests consolidation, maybe,
Yeah.
and growth in specialized veterinary services like dermatology clinics.
Okay.
And on the product side, Zoetis got FDA approval for Apoquel chewable in June 2023. Apoquel is a big allergy drug, so offering a chewable version is about, improving convenience and administration for owners.
More innovation focused on the pet and owner experience.
Exactly. It shows the market is still very active, developing new options.
Okay, so as we sort of wrap up this deep dive, can you give us the main takeaways again, the key points to remember?
Sure. So, bottom line. The veterinary dermatology drug market is growing significantly, projected to nearly double by 2033.
Right, big growth.
Regionally, North America is the biggest market now, but Asia Pacific is where the fastest growth is expected.
The one to watch.
Definitely. In terms of drugs, antibacterials are largest currently, but antifungals are growing fastest. And administration-wise, topicals are dominant, but injectables are seeing rapid growth, especially for chronic issues.
And it's mostly driven by small animals, particularly dogs.
That's right. Those are the core segments driving much of the expansion.
That's a fantastic summary. It's really fascinating to see this much focus and innovation going into our animal skin health.
Yeah, it really is.
And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? As pet ownership keeps rising, as we treat them more like family, and as our understanding of animal health gets better and better, how will all these market trends shape the future? Not just the treatments, but maybe even our whole relationship with our pets.
That's a great question to ponder. How deep does that care and scientific advancement go?
Exactly. Something for you all to think about. Thanks so much for digging into this report with us today. Hopefully this gives you a clearer picture of this booming market.